Hey guys, it's Andrea here from Crafter Support and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be making a shirt using Cricut's Infusible Ink. So if you're new to Infusible Ink, there are some things you're going to want to know. First, Infusible Ink has to be applied to something 65% polyester count or higher. And there's a chemical reaction that takes place whenever you add the heat and pressure to the printed transfer sheets that you can buy from Cricut. So what happens is the solid is the transfer sheet. It skips the liquid state once you apply the heat and pressure, turns directly into a gas, and it infuses into the fabric. And that's why you need the polyester, the high polyester count, because it's going to infuse into the high polyester. It won't infuse into a cotton shirt that's 100% cotton without having a base layer underneath it. The other thing that's important is that you use a lint roller to pick up any little pieces of lint or hair or dust or anything that's on that fabric before you press it. Because once you lay the transfer sheet down, whatever is underneath it is where the transfer color is going to go. And say there's a little tiny piece of lint and you press it down, press your pretty design down, and when you lift it, once you move that piece of lint, there's going to be a blank spot because the ink is only going to apply to whatever is available on the fabric. So that's something that's very important. You will see me use my lint roller a lot whenever I'm making infusible ink projects, but just take that precaution. Even if it's a brand new shirt and you just took it out of the bag, it was in a store, it could have dust, it could have lint, it could have anything on it that you just want to make sure that that's completely removed so that your project turns out right. Okay, so the next thing is when you purchase your infusible ink, it comes in a box like this, and you don't want to have anything on your hands, no lotion. You want to make sure they're clean and dry, and because if you have lotion or something on or your hands are oily, it will smudge the ink and it will give you a poor transfer. So it's going to come in these black plastic bags. You want to keep this. Just trim the top of your bag off, and I put just a little slit down the side of my bag so it makes it easier for me to pull the transfer sheets in and out after I've used part of one, and I slide them back in. So all you do is you pull your transfer sheets out of the bag. Again, save the bag, do not get rid of the bag. And I keep the box just so I know what is on, like what design is in it. Now, it comes with 2 sheets, and we're going to use this one today, but it also comes with this other one that I've previously used. Now, you can see how light it looks on the transfer sheet, but when you print it out, when you actually press it out and the heat and the pressure is on it into the fabric, it will be much darker. So you may think, oh, I wanted it more vibrant. It will be whenever you press it. So now inside of the box, you also get some butcher paper. Now, Cricut does make their own butcher paper that you can purchase, which I have some, and it's basically protecting the fabric and your heat press. So if you were when we press the shirt, this is going to go inside the shirt so that in no way can the ink go pressing through onto the back of the shirt through the actual material, if you know what I mean. And again, I'll show you all that once we get to that process, but I just want to let you guys have an idea of everything that you're going to need to use. So here I show you, this is what the boxes look like to get the butcher paper from Cricut. I think it's like 12 inches by 14 inches, and you can reuse these as long as there's no transfer on them. So I typically reuse mine like twice if I'm doing sweatshirts, but if I do a t-shirt, it usually pushes through, so you'll be able to see it. And again, I show you that as well. So this is actually a really, really pretty purple and black, and it's kind of like the what's it called? The celestial colors. Like, it's really pretty. I also suggest that you use a brayer whenever you're putting your infusible ink onto your mat, because you don't want to touch it. Like, the least you need to the least you touch it, the better. And most of the things I do here at Crafter Support whenever I'm putting something on the mat is I do it at an angle. It just helps me line things up a lot better. And like I said, just touch it as least as possible. And then you can just press the top and the bottom, and then take your lint or your brayer and bray the whole thing down. So the most important thing whenever you're cutting any design on any mat is that the mat is sticky. And to be honest, I didn't use a brayer for the longest time. It's been about just over a year now that I started using a brayer, and I see a huge difference in my cuts. I have less lifting. So I highly suggest that you have a brayer. So now it's ready to go. And we're just going to jump over to the computer so I can show you. I've already made my design. It's a very simple design, but I want to show you how to send it to your machine. So it just says love inside. Obviously, this is for Valentine's Day. And I just put a color to the background so you guys could see that. And it's all ready to go. So I'm just going to click make it. So now it's just asking you what you're going to cut it on, and we're cutting it on our mat. So we're going to click continue. Now, when you're using infusible ink, you must mirror your image, especially if there's words. You have to mirror your image so that way there. And what mirror means is to flip your image. So whenever you lay it on your shirt with the ink side down, it will transfer properly. And now it's just asking what machine we're going to use. And I'm going to be using the Cricut Maker 3, and you need to use the infusible ink setting. So it just knows what material you're using. And then you're just going to go over to your machine. And when you see a flashing light, that means you need to do something for Cricut. So it's flashing for you to load it. You just slide it under those two white little catchers on the side and click the play button, and you're ready to cut. So the next thing that you need to know about the infusible ink is when you weed it. So what I like to do, and you'll see me do here, is I like to cut down as much off as I can first to save that and put that aside. So I just use the first thing I'm going to do is take it off the mat, and then I'm going to do that by flipping it over and peeling it just like I would if I was using paper. So when I do like iron on, you don't have to flip your paper over or your mat over, but when you do paper or any print and cut or infusible ink, I think it's easiest to flip your mat over and peel it off that way. I'm just going to put the covering back onto my mat, and I have my mats attached to my wall, and I just hang them directly up in front of me. And now we're ready to trim off the extra pieces that we don't need, and we can save that material. So I have my portable trimmer, and this is the new one. It's the 13-inch because of the smart vinyl. They've increased the size of their portable trimmer, which I absolutely love. That little bit more space just makes it a lot easier, I think. I think it's only like an inch, maybe more. So it's not huge, but it definitely gives you that extra space that you need. So I'm just feeling and looking, using my eyes to see where the cut ends. And then I cut off the piece that is still usable. And I'm going to put that back in the box inside of the black bag so I can use it later. Okay, so now this is where the weeding process is going to start. You can use a weeding tool if you want. I find that it's easy to kind of get yourself a start with the weeding tool, like up in a corner, but then that's for the outside. So you'll see me roll my infusible ink, and that kind of cracks it and breaks it up a little bit to make it easier to weed. And I just roll it up nicely and just give it a second. And then you can kind of see the cut lines or the weeding lines a lot easier. I use a scraper to kind of pick at the top left. I usually always start at the top left when I weed. You can start from any corner you want, but I just kind of break through that infusible ink transfer sheet down to the sticky part, and that helps me just kind of lift the outside pieces that we want to weed off. But then whenever I weed the inside, I don't use a weeding tool. So I try to go at an angle that seems to work best for everything that I do with Cricut, is just pull it at an angle, and it cuts very nicely. This is the first time I've cut Cricut Infusible ink on my Cricut Maker 3, and I think it did a great job. So I was really happy with the cut. But I'm just going to go all the way around it, lifting it and holding the base down. And now I'm just going to go through, you could save these pieces if you wanted to do little like designs or something, but I'm going to just toss that. Now I'm just going to use my fingers to kind of weed the word love out. So this was a simple design I wanted to share with you guys, but it's, I'm just showing you how to make it as easy as possible. So if you just poke your finger from the backing and lift with the front, the pieces come off super easy. If you wanted to use these letters onto something, if you wanted to lay them out, you could absolutely do that using heat transfer the tape, and you could make another design, but that's completely up to you. I just like to use whatever I can that I have left over if I can use it for something else. All right, so now here's our material. This is like a mint green color. It's really, really pretty. I paid $10 at Family Dollar for it. It's 100% polyester. Like I said before, you need that high polyester count in order for the Cricut Infusible ink to go into that gas state and to infuse into the fabric. So again, I'm using my lint roller. I cannot express enough how much lint rolling will save you, because if there's anything extra on that, you'll get like these little blue dots. So you'll get these weird little blue dots if you don't get all of the lint in the hair or anything that's on that shirt off. You'll just have these little marks, and to me, it's just like it ruins the shirt. So next I'm going to be putting my Cricut mat, which is a pressing mat. I think this is the 12 by 12 one. And it's going to go up inside the shirt. So it's going to go between the fabric, and I'm going to place a piece of butcher paper on top of it just to protect the mat, so that if the infusible ink would go all the way through the fabric, it's not going to land on my pressing mat. So I'm just going to tuck it under and get it lined up to where I'd like it. And now we're going to pull over our easy press. So this is the 9x9, and my design is a little bit bigger than that, so I do have to press two separate sides. But the first thing we need to do is set it up. So by setting up our easy press, that just means setting the heat and the heat temperature and for how long. So I just go onto my Cricut little download that I have that takes me directly to their heat guide. And I just pick the material, which is 100% polyester. And I'm just picking t-shirt because that's an option that it gives. So since it's all 100% polyester, whether it's a t-shirt or a sweatshirt, I'm just going to use that option. And then I pick what I'm using, which is Infusible Ink sheets. There's also one for pens. Make sure you pick the one for sheets, and then click OK, and it will tell you how long your temperature needs to be. So I believe it's 385 for 40 seconds. So that is what I end up setting my design for. Yep, 385 for 40 seconds. And I'm just going to set up my easy press and get it ready to heat up. So if you do not have an easy press or you're new with it, you just hit the little thermometer once, and then it will allow you to add a temperature or subtract. Then you hit it again to set it. And then the timer, you just hit the little clock, and then you do the same thing, add the time you need or subtract the time you need, and click the clock again, and it's ready. It's set up for you. Now you see the C light is red. It will turn green whenever it's ready to press. Next, I'm just going to lint roll a few more times just because I want to be super sure that there's nothing extra left on that shirt, because I have moved it a few times. And the original sweater I was wearing when I started the video had like little blue lint pieces coming off of it. So I wanted to make sure that it was completely cleaned. Now I'm trying to figure out, like I said, I wanted this at an angle whenever I was done with the whole project. So I tilted the word love. I think it turned out super cute. I'm really happy with it. But also the carrier sheet that the infusible ink is on is very sticky, so it will hold it in place very nicely. If for some reason yours wouldn't be super sticky, you can use heat transfer tape, or it's like a blue tape that Cricut sells, and it's for it's heat tape, so you can use it for sublimation. You can't use regular transfer tape, or the regular transfer paper. You can't use that. Only if it's the heat transfer one. So remember, underneath is our pressing pad and our butcher paper. And because this has a carrier, I'm not using any butcher paper on top of the carrier because it completely covers the entire design. I'm not worried about it transferring onto my heat press, but if you are concerned about that, just lay a piece of butcher paper over the design right now before you press it. Okay, so now my easy press was ready to go. I clicked the green Cricut button and it's starting the countdown. So I'm just applying the pressure, and you can see on the right hand side there's a little piece that is not under the heat. I'm going to press that a second time off to the side so I can get that as well. It's best, honestly, if you do one complete press if you're making a project, so that way you're just getting the 40 seconds that it needs completely pressed and done. Whereas for me now, I have to do that little piece hanging over, and there you can tell on the shirt there is a slight discoloration where I pressed it the second time, because of you have to you want the same amount of pressure on everything, and maybe this time I didn't give it as much pressure or too much pressure, but it's hard to see, but I know that it's there, but it still came out really, really nice. Now, there are some things known as ghosting whenever you're using infusible ink, and that's whenever, if you move or the fabric moves during the process, it will put like almost like a smear. That's the only way I can describe it. There's like a smear of the ink and it won't look right, but that's why you have to be completely still and try to just do one press whenever you're using the infusible ink. But here it is, guys. Like I said, you can barely notice it, but I see it. After the E, there is a slight discoloration line, but it turned out so beautiful. I love this shirt so much. And it was really easy to make. So taking the steps and the precautions that I've told you guys about will definitely give you a great final project. There is a line. I'm not sure if you guys can see that or not. There's a line around where the transfer sheet sticky part was, but that you can just iron out. It's not a big deal. It'll come out in the wash, whatever. I just take the butcher paper, I lay it on top of my design, and I take my heat press and just run it over those spots where there was that harsh line from the transfer sheet, and then they come out. I just didn't take my time and do the whole entire thing. I just wanted to show you guys. But also, once I did that, then I looked at this and I was like, oh no, it pressed, so I gotta throw that piece out. So the butcher paper needs to be thrown out because it had ink on it, and you don't want to reuse that on another project. But I think it turned out really nice. I'm really happy with the results. I can't wait to wear it. And this is on there forever. Like, it will not wash off. It's infusible ink is like, it's one of their forever products, I think. It'll last as long as the shirt lasts because it is that chemical reaction. It is infused into your project. So the other thing is, when you're doing this, you should make sure that you are in a well-ventilated area, and you're not just breathing in those fumes, because if you're sensitive to fumes like that, you will be able to smell them. Like, I can kind of smell it a little bit, but I'm in a big open room. so it's fine. But if you ever have any questions about infusible ink, you can absolutely comment down below. Here is the result of the shirt. Look how pretty the pinks came out and the purples came out, even though this was a colored shirt. So just remember, when you're using infusible ink, it has to be on a light colored shirt in order for the colors to come out. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you learned a lot today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and please be sure to subscribe. I put up videos every Monday and Thursday and some in between. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll talk to you later. Bye.